Justin Trudeau's bad judgment and double standards. I'm Brian Lilly with Rebel.media. When Julie Payette was announced as our next Governor General, I had no issue. Outside of how we appoint anyone under any government these days, with gender, regional, linguistic, as well as ethnic factors playing into the equation more than, or at least before, a person's qualifications, well, outside of that, I had no issue. But with Julie Payette, what was interesting is we had someone that did have amazing credentials. Now, is she qualified to be Governor General? It's not exactly a job that has a specific qualifications list. Whoever occupies the post represents the Queen in Canada while she's absent. They perform official functions, and they even sometimes make key constitutional decisions. So there isn't a specific list of qualifications, and the job has become somewhat of a reward for a distinguished Canadian. And with Julie Payette, well, she is definitely a distinguished Canadian. She's one of our astronauts. She spent more than a full month in space. She speaks 6 languages. She sings and plays the pianos, performed with some of our top music groups, classical music groups, such as the Montreal Symphony and Toronto's Taffel Music. She's served in leading roles at the Canadian Space Agency, the Montreal Science Centre. She's been an engineer for IBM and served on corporate boards. So Julie Payette has an impressive resume, and she's qualified. She's also human, and like many of us, she's got a messy personal story, one that involves being in a horrific car crash that killed a blind woman. The woman jaywalked in front of her. Police ruled it wasn't Payette's fault, and I absolutely believe that. She's also just recently divorced for the second time. That's something many Canadians can understand, and something many Canadians have gone through. And none of this disqualifies her from being Governor General, but there's one event that would see her disqualified from being the next Governor General if she were a man. And I say that because if Julie Payette were John Payette, then Justin Trudeau would never even have appointed her. My qualm, by the way, is with the Prime Minister and his judgment and double standard, not with Madame Payette. So what's the issue? Well, there's a good chance you've heard already that in November of 2011, police were called to the home that Payette shared with her then-husband, Billy Flynn. He's a retired Canadian fighter jet pilot, now a test pilot for the F-35. Payette was charged with second-degree assault. The charge was dropped 2 weeks later, expunged from Payette's record, but it did show up when the political news outlet iPolitics did a quick and simple background search of Payette online. They easily found the charges, and you can be sure the RCMP did when they did their vetting. What's second-degree assault? We don't have that in Canadian law, not in those exact terms. So what does it mean under Maryland law? Well, I went and looked for information. Here's what I found. Under Maryland law, a person is guilty as assault in the second degree if she is found to have caused physical injury to another person. Physical injury means impairment of physical condition, including minor injuries. Now, this was a domestic call. This was to the house she shared with her husband and teenage son. A second-degree assault charge was laid. That most likely means the assault was against her husband, or less likely, her child. Even with the charges dropped, can you imagine Justin Trudeau going forward with such a high-profile appointment of a man that had been charged with assaulting his wife? It wouldn't happen, not even with the charges dropped, not even under all of these exact same scenarios that we have with Julie Payette. And yet there is Justin Trudeau defending this, saying, no questions, no worries.
Madame Payette is going to make an extraordinary Governor General. She represents the very best of Canadian values, openness to the world, curiosity, intellectual rigor, and inspiration. She will continue to inspire generations of Canadians as she represents us at the very highest level.
A family life can be messy. I get that. No one looks good with all their dirty laundry hanging out, but I can't help feel that there's a double standard here. And I'm not alone. Susan Delacourt, longtime columnist with the Toronto Star, now with iPolitics, she wrote a question asking these same questions. Same with Robin Urback, the comment editor for CBC's new opinion section. But while they'll ask the questions and not really definitively say there's a double standard at play here, I will. There is zero chance that Justin Trudeau would appoint a man who had faced a domestic assault charge to the post of Governor General or any other high-profile office. I know the charges were dropped. I get innocent until proven guilty. Well, that is the court of law. Politics works at a different level, and this is politics. Criminal defense lawyer Ed Prucci, someone I've worked with, know well, he tweeted at me, having dealt with hundreds of unfounded domestic violence cases in my career, Payette's 2 weeks as an accused don't concern me in the least. They don't bother me too much either, Ed. The cops did their jobs and then they moved on. I've seen cases among my own friends and family where men have been arrested, spent the night in jail, when they did absolutely nothing. I also know of couples that have gone through a rough patch, quite literally beating on each other. And then somehow, in ways I don't get, they've worked it out and moved on. Family life is hard, it's messy, and what this story shows is that despite all of her accomplishments, Julie Payette is a human being like the rest of us. In her life, it's not perfect. But this also shows that Justin Trudeau, who the PMO says knew of the charges before the appointment, employs a double standard he would never allow to be applied for any man in the exact same situation. If you like the Rebel video you just watched, never miss another one again. Click here to subscribe, and if you haven't subscribed to Rebel Canada yet, make sure you do. For all the Trudeau stories, the rest won't tell you.